Virginia. First of all, I want to thank Bill Westcott, Camille, Joanna for having me here. I think that what you do is amazing, putting together all these women, and we all learn. And now it's my turn to be on this side. I usually sit and just enjoy. I'm just really happy to be here. I'm thrilled, and I'm gonna just tell you about my journey in life. I'm from San Diego. I was born and raised there. My parents are here. They live in California. They were in Texas. They flew in to be here tonight, so thank you. My husband, Ricardo, is here as well. Dominic, Miriam, a great friends. Thank you for being here, Eloise. And I'm just going to talk about me. I'm just going to talk about what I've done and where we've been and the challenges of life that life brings. And sometimes we have to be ready for them. So, let's see. This is my mom and my dad. That's me. I have a sister. I went to law school. She went to med school. We took different paths. She's a doctor. She's doing great. She lives in Tijuana right now. I'm in Tucson for, I guess, destiny, and I'll tell you why. I never thought I would move to Tucson, but I did, and I love it. We've been here for 6 years, and it's been a great experience. We've had many friends. We've made great relationships, and we've gotten to pick our own family here in Tucson, so that's been wonderful. That's me when I was little. I was born in San Diego, and we moved back to Mexico when I was 3 years old. My dad was appointed as a judge there, so we had to move there. I come from both of my parents are attorneys in Mexico. I did elementary school, and when it was time to graduate from elementary school, we came back to San Diego, and I finished my middle school, high school, and that's when I attended University of San Diego. My goal was to be an attorney. I applied, got accepted, and in my senior year, I started interning with the district attorney's office. I loved it, but the last semester of my senior year, I decided I would go to the job fair. I needed to see what I was going to do with my life. My mom was saying, okay, come on, what are you going to do next? So I went there, I spoke to the DEA, and I immediately got recruited. They were interested in me working for them, so I applied while I was still interning at the DA's attorney's office, and while I was finishing my bachelor's degree. I graduated, I filled out my application, and I got a job, meanwhile, at the Consulate of Mexico in San Diego. No, my husband did not hire me. It was someone else. I worked there for a year, and I got called into the DA's attorneys after. What I would do at the Consulate of Mexico in San Diego was helping the Hispanic population with minors, with child protection services, visit the juvenile offices, the juvenile delinquents that we had. I would talk, I would translate, and I would just be in charge of the minor department. There were a lot of kids in need of paperwork, passports, anything for them to be adopted, and so my main contact was Child Protection Services in San Diego. I worked there for a year, and I get an offer from the DA's attorney, so I go back to the DA's attorney's office, and I work for the Human Trafficking and Narcotics Department. I loved to do that. That's why I was going to join the DEA. I kept filing every single requirement that the DEA had asked me for. So fingerprints, backgrounds, questionnaires, anything that I did it. A few months later, I go to a meeting. My immediate boss asks me can you please go to a meeting with me? Our translator didn't make it, and you're going to have to simultaneously translate. I go to a Customs and Border Protection meeting. Who do I see? My husband. I meet him there. We talk. He's helping me translate. And he had just arrived from Washington, D.C., and he said, well, you know, I'm new here. How would you feel about showing me, you know, the Consul of Mexico here in town? And I said, well, I kind of doubted about it, but I thought, well, I want to go to law school as well, so I might need a letter of recommendation from him. I never got it, by the way. I have 2 kids and a dog with him, and I never got it. So we started going out. 3 months later, we were engaged. And 3 months later, we got married. So that's our picture there. Can you hear me well? Yes. We got married, and I was still working for the DA's office, and I had to call in my DEA agent and say, I need to withdraw my paperwork because I know that now it's a conflict of interest. I'm married to a foreign diplomat. They're considered spies, I know. So we had to just withdraw that paperwork, and at that point, I knew my life and my plan for life had changed. I kept working for the DA's office for a year, and he called to me. We would never have lunch. We would drive separately to downtown San Diego to our office, and he said, do you want to have lunch today? I'll pick you up, which was very rare. And I get in the car, and he goes, I have something to tell you. He goes, I'm getting transferred, and if you don't want to go with me, it's totally fine. I said, well, where are you going to get transferred? He goes, Idaho. And I look at him, and I go, where? He goes, I know. If you want to either file for divorce, commute, anything, you don't have to come with me. And I go, well, I just have one question for you. What did you do? Like, why are they mad at you? Why are we getting transferred all the way to Idaho? Well, 3 months later, we moved to Idaho. Everything was wonderful, beautiful city, beautiful people. It was just we call it a secret, the best kept secret. It's just an amazing population, beautiful people, and he was gonna open the first consulate in Boise there. There was no consulate, so we were working 3 months before opening the consulate in a Starbucks. Every barista knew us, they knew what we would drink. I mean, it was a great experience. We moved to a house, he got his office, and I started working for the corrections department. I was working with Hispanics there, I was doing translations, and I was just working with all the inmates, trying to help and trying to see how we could help them as a consulate as well. A few months passed, I was there for 2 years. I decided I would take a break from that environment, and we adopted a dog. His name's Versace, by the way. A year later, we learned that I was pregnant, and our baby boy was born in Boise, Idaho. We had been there for 3 years now when he was born. You can see Versace in mostly all of them. And I stopped working for 2 years, had the baby, and probably when he was 6 months, I get called into Capstone Missions. Capstone Missions, it's a nonprofit organization, and I was heading that organization. I was an executive director and doing fundraising for them. It is to help all the orphanages in Tijuana that have kids with special needs, the ones that are never adopted, the ones that, so we would raise funds for them. I worked there for 2 years until I get another phone call. He goes, Virginia, I've been calling you. It's been 6 phone calls and you've missed him. And I go, well, what's the emergency? I'm pushing a swing with my kid. He goes, we're getting transferred. I say, where are we going? He goes, it's Tucson, but I told my boss I'm not going. And I go, what? It's not going to be Tucson now. It's going to be Haiti or somewhere with a 1-year-old. He goes, well, I decided to take the risk, and I'm not going to Tucson because I don't think I'll like it. Well, 3 months later, we're in Tucson. Tucson has been wonderful. We've just loved the place. We've been here for 6 years. It's usually 3 to 5 years when he gets the time that he gets posted. But this was This is our 6th year. I get in, it was June. It was hot coming from Idaho. I can just feel that hot weather coming to us when we leave the airport. And I go, Ricardo, I don't think we're going to like this. What are we going to do? He goes, well, nothing. We're just going to stay here. Get used to it. So we got used to it. I think he got used to it first. And, well, my son and I would look at each other every day, thinking, what are we going to do now? Where are we? We don't know anyone. We're just new to the community. We couldn't do much because he would call me, well, we have this event. And I go, well, who do you want me to leave a 1-year-old with? I don't know anyone. We don't know. We don't have family. We don't have anyone here that can help us. So that was another issue. 3 months later, when he was taking a nap, I looked at my kid and I said, I don't like Tucson, but I've always wanted to go to law school. I apply, I get accepted, and there I go. I don't tell anyone until my acceptance letter. I just didn't want to get anyone's hopes up. So I called my parents. They were very supportive. They helped me. They came in the first few months. Mom helped me with my 1-year-old. And then we had a village to take care of this kid. Poor kid. He had a team behind him, There was a live-in nanny. There was dad. There was grandma. There was just a lot of people, and myself. I was going full-time to law school, and this is it. And 2 years later, I graduated. This kid was in love with his nanny. I think he preferred every nanny instead of mom, dad. They were just together all day. So I decided that nanny was going to take a year off, and mom was going to take another year off. And we were going to focus on me being a full-time mom. I'm creating that bond with a 4-year-old. And it happened. I came home. I had graduated, and I told Ricardo, and he supported it. He said, okay, you're going to take a year off? Go ahead, take it off. So I did, and I was resting, and I was having a lot of fun. And I was the first parent, and you rarely see those. Who wants to bring the cupcakes? I'll do it. Who wants to bring the cups? I'll do it. I just wanted to be really involved in his life. He started baseball. He started karate and piano. This kid was going to be something because mom was behind him. I was involved in everything until one day, talking to his baseball coach, I said, hey, we've met, and I'm going to be the mom of the team, and I want you to know that anything you need. And he goes, oh, Virginia, I already know you. I've seen you the last 2 years, but you rarely talk. I said, I was in law school. I didn't have any friends. He goes, well, we've seen you, and these are my kids. And I say, well, how many kids do you have? He goes, I have one, and these 2 other kids. One kid that's adopted, and these 2 other kids are foster. So I go, are you adopting him? Are you adopting this little girl? He goes, no, we're sending her back to the system. And I go, after how many years? He goes, 2 years. And I look at him and I go, but didn't you teach her how to go potty? Didn't you teach her how to eat her first? He goes, yeah, but my wife's pregnant and we just have to move on. So I came home and I talked to my husband. And I said, Ricardo, can you believe it? We have a dog that pees all over the house, and we've never thought about sending him back to the Humane Society. Why is this happening? This is a kid. And he looked at me, and he goes, yeah, that's wrong. And he kept walking. The following day, I couldn't forget that situation, and I go back. He's shaving. He's going to work. It's 6:30, 7 a.m., and I say, you know what, Ricardo, can you believe it? And he goes, well, what do you want to do, adopt her? And immediately, he had a great idea. As soon as he left the house, I started calling every single phone number that I could find on the Child Protection Services webpage. Let me tell you something. I just found out about this little girl. She's 4 years old. There's no one. They're hoping some relatives come up. She doesn't have anyone. What do you need? Wrong number, ma'am. I made 9 of those phone calls until the 10th one. An angel said, you know what, you got to call the hotline. So I got in and I called the hotline, and the recording said, press number 1 if you know that a child is being abused or neglected. And I go, oh gosh, I can't press that. I don't want to, press number 2 if you want to report a foster parent. Not that. So I pressed 0. Finally, someone answered. I said, I know I'm not at the store, but I've heard about this girl, and I've known her for 2 years. And they say, well, what's her name? And I go, I don't know. But I know her situation, and I know I'm not at a Nordstrom or a Walmart or a Target, but if she needs my help, I'm willing to help. She says, do you have any more information about her, ma'am? How will we know who she is? I say, you know what? Give me a second. I'm going to look at being the team mom of the team. I have a roster, and I can tell you who her foster dad is. So I looked at it, I gave the name, and she said, I know exactly who you're talking about. If the caseworker is interested, they'll give you a call. I said, okay, I did it. I was happy. I hung up. Next day, 7 a.m., I have 4 missed phone calls from CPS. I call back, and they say, hi, so you want this little girl, huh? And I go, who is this? Well, my name's this, and my name's John, and I am a caseworker. And I go, okay, well, I just want to let you know that if you have nowhere to place her, I'll be here. And I have a family, and my husband's here. And he goes, okay, well, are you married? Are you gay? Or what are you? I go, I'm just married. I've been married 12 years, and this is what I want to tell you. You know, it's just, I don't mean to interrupt or erupt a family. I just want to know that if there's nowhere to place her, we'll take her. He said, well, ma'am, I think you're going around this a lot. Do you want her or not? And I go, sure, I do. I'll take her. He goes, okay, I need your social security numbers from you and your husband. And I'm thinking, okay, well, I hand out his social security. I hand out mine. He says, I'll give you a call soon. Okay, I did. I was happy. I had forgotten about it until we're having dinner with Eloise. And I received an email 2 weeks later saying, your background check passed, Virginia. And I look at Ricardo as we're having Mexican food at a restaurant. And I go, remember this little girl? He goes, yeah. I said, we passed the background check, man. He goes, what? What are you talking about? I said, well, it was your idea. You brought it up. It wasn't me. And he said, okay, well, he goes, we'll talk about this later. I think he didn't want to say much in front of you, right, Alex? And we got home, and he goes, I need to see a picture. I don't even know who you're talking about. He looks at a picture, and he says, that's with my son in Disneyland. And he says, well, I don't know, Virginia. She looks American. Do you know that Angelina Jolie has to go to Vietnam, and she has millions of dollars? So I don't think we're Mexican. We're not getting a blonde girl. I say, okay, well, they said we will. So they said our probability is 50%. So we start talking to the caseworker. He calls back, and he goes, I need her to immediately transition. I go, okay, so how long do we have? He goes, 6 hours. She's getting... And I go, what? He goes, make sure you have a bed and a nightstand. That's all she needs. And I go, okay. So we immediately started transitioning. She would spend the night for a month on weekends, and then she would go back to her foster parents, who she was used to being with. And a month later, she came in with 2 boxes full of clothes, a bike, and they said goodbye to her. It was a very sad farewell, and she sat down after being placed in several foster homes. She said, now where's me going? And I immediately looked at her, and I couldn't say anything. I just couldn't say anything. The foster parents said, we love you. We're hoping this is your last home. See ya. So they left, and we started unpacking her stuff. She was with us for 6 months before the adoption. We were traveling. We were trying to make memories with her. I think the first one's at SeaWorld, Universal Studios, and the Symphony. She likes music, and we take her as often as we can. 6 months passed by with caseworkers visiting every week, therapists visiting everywhere. Her attorney would come on Sundays and say, hey, ding dong, I'm here to see my client. And I go, who's your client? She goes, the 4-year-old. So she would come out, her client would come out. They would get in a room, they would go to a private room, and they would talk to each other for 15, 20 minutes. And she goes, okay, I think she does want to stay here. I go, okay, well, we're here. She goes, but we need to speak, the judge and I need to speak to your son to see if he's in favor of his adoption. And we immediately said, no, he doesn't rule, he's not the boss, and it's us, He has to live with what we give him. So we were able to go through that for 6 months. We would have therapists. The first 2 months were amazing. We were in a honeymoon phase, that it's called. The rest were hell. Someone who came to our house with no structure, no discipline for the first 4 years. I would say, her name's Maria now, and I would say, Maria, can you please pick up your stuff? And she would go, I'm not your maid, Mom. And I go, but it's your shoes. You just took them off. She goes, I'm telling you, I'm not your maid. I think you are the maid. And I go, I've been called so many things, but I've never been called a maid. And I go, but do you really have to pick that up? She goes, no, I don't think so. It was her very strong personality, but with no discipline, no structure. I understand foster families don't discipline. It's not a forte for them. Kids complain, they take them out, they have to get out of that foster home. So it was hard for us the first year, right? Right? Because he wasn't there, he was working. So I would cry, and I would say, Ricardo, I don't think I can do this anymore. Can you please help me? He goes, did I make the phone call? I go, but she did this to me, and she said this to me, and she said this to her brother. Did I make the phone call? So I that wasn't helping. He came once, I was about to, and I said, Ricardo, I don't think I can do it. I just don't think I can do it. I think I'm going to do what everybody else did. And he looked at me and he said, oh, no one asked you to do that for her. Now you're keeping her, so suck it up. I did. We adopted 2 years ago. That's with our judge, and we had to raise his immunity. FBI came over to the house. They took fingerprints from him. So we hired an attorney. He helped us a lot, and we were finally able to adopt her. She knew what adoption was. She knows that her last name was changed, and she's just a happy little girl now. That's her. She loves to dance, and this is our family. That's us 2 days ago, I think. So that's a very recent one. But that's our story. She was really, she's very adapted now. And my husband tells me, well, we had a kid in Boise, Idaho. That was your souvenir. Now I have one from Tucson. He goes, next time, just get a job, Virginia, would you? It's like, we can't keep doing this wherever we get posted. The funny thing was with her, it's that probably 3 months before I met her, I had an appointment, and my son was playing in the pool with Dad, and he told my husband, you know what, Dad, I think you and Mom are really selfish. You don't let me have a sister. This was before I met her. And I come home, and I had just gotten my nails. Like, don't touch me, no one touch me. My nails are going to get ruined. And Ricardo's looking at me with a glass of wine, and he goes, Virginia, I think we should, either have another kid or just adopt someone. And I looked at him, and I go, what? He goes, yeah, I mean, poor Ricardo. He's by himself all the time, and we're so selfish. And I go, next time you hear that, take him to Toys R Us. It wasn't closed yet. I go, that's not happening. We're done having kids. Well, 3 months, so I talked to him, and he goes, yeah, Mom, you're very selfish. You don't want to give me a little sister. 3 months passed by. She was someone else's sister because she was in a foster home with another kid. So she came to the house, and we kept praying every month that he would have a sister. And I said, Ricardo, just pray. We'll pray every night till you have a sister, whatever. I was like done. We kept praying every night until Maria came up to our lives. And when she came up, he goes, I say, whoa, Ricardo, you've been praying for her. This is your sister now. He looks at me and he goes, a 4-year-old? Aren't they babies when they come out? And I go, yeah, but this is like Amazon Prime. You've been praying every night, and I think we're good. I think you can play with her now. And he goes, God is good, Mom. God is good. She's adopted, and a few months pass by, and Maria says, Mom, I really want you to have a baby in your belly. And Ricardo looks at me and I go, do you really want him? Do you really want me to have a baby in my belly, Ricardo? He goes, Mom, please, let's not pray again. We're done. We're done. So he has a lot of faith in God. He got his little sister from Amazon Prime, a 4-year-old who could play with him. And they get along great. They fight all the time, but they play all the time. She's her number one bodyguard at school. She is. He'll protect her, but in a different way. But this is how we have now our daughter from Tucson, half European, half American. And we just, thank you. I think this, more than law school, more than anything, more than jobs, I think this has been our best experience here in Tucson. We never thought we would have a girl, nonetheless, adopted, and we enjoyed the process. We had a lot of issues with the system. It doesn't seem to be ready for all those kids. There's currently 22,000 kids in the state in foster care. And I added myself to the list for another foster kid, and Ricardo said, how many, Virginia? How many? There's 22,000. How many do you want? Good. So we're still currently on the list. If you know of anyone, we're willing to take one too. But we are currently on the list. We think we can take one more. Now Maria has a Mexican citizenship because in Mexico we have dual citizenship. And she has a diplomatic passport now. She goes to restaurants and she says, do they know that we're the consulate, Mom? I go, no, why would they know? Mom, can we go to a fancy restaurant, Mom? You would never think she came from the foster care. You would think she came probably from England, a castle. But she's a diva, and she's made our life much more exciting. I tell people we were 80-year-olds before we had her. She brought us down to earth. Well, that's the story with Maria. And currently I'm I'm volunteering for on two boards. Both of them have to do with kids. NPH USA, which is Nuestros Pequeños Hermanos, means little brothers and sisters, and they help children in Latin America and the Caribbean, including Mexico. So we do the fundraising nationally here in the U.S., and we work with them. We also, I have not done it yet, but we will be traveling to see the kids at the orphanages in Dominican Republic, Mexico, Colombia, Honduras, and Peru. And I'm also working with Act One, and that is to help Title I schools in low-income communities so they can go to the theater. They go to see the Nutcracker in buses that we fundraise for. And they go to the museums, they go to Broadway shows, and you just have to see those letters from them. They're just excited. They come with their tie and their tennis shoes, and they're excited to be there. So that's what I'm volunteering my time with, and my two kids. I want to thank Joanna and Camille for inviting me, and I'm going to tell you why, because when I left from the meeting with them, I said, what would they want to hear from me? I'm an Uber mom and a desperate housewife right now. What would they want to hear from me? It's just, thank you. Thank you for your opportunity, and thank you for your faith in me. Because I said, what can I tell them? I run around with kids, my car's full of snacks. There's nothing interesting about me. But thank you, Joanna. Thank you for Camille for having me. And if you have any questions, let me know.